I guess I gotta give a little bit of background. I think it was December 2013. Jess and I were having a date night and we swung by Alaska Mining and Diving, and it was quiet in there. But Todd and Piper Palin were poking around in there, and as we left, I told, man, I've always really wanted to run the Iron Dog, and my bride is so incredible. She said, well, you should do it. Why don't you do it and stop talking about it? So I did.
I'm sitting in Kona, Hawaii in December of 2013. Sun and beach and love and life. I get a phone call from Charlie and says, hey, let's do the Iron Dog. Flashback to cold and frozen. I'm like, wait a minute. You know, that took me all of about 3 minutes to say, okay. Somebody comes up with a harebrained idea, I'm usually about the first person to say, let's do it.
Mark Pratt. Whew. I think we met in like a Lamaze class.
I had to been in Lamaze class of May, June, and I didn't share his ambition for Lamaze.
Like taking notes. All right, this is how you breathe.
It worked out perfectly. And Mark Johnson, he's about the easiest guy to get along with.
I've known Mark Johnson. We actually, we met online. There's a
snow machine forum called
Do Talk.
And talk about sleds and
ideas about, you know, modifying our machines and this and that, and
figured out we're actually pretty close. Hey, let's go ride together.
Sure. So that's how it was. Probably 2005-ish when I first met Mark Johnson.
I just love riding and being up in the mountains mainly. That's my place. Up in the mountains and the glaciers.
When you run an event like the Iron Dog, having folks you click with is key.
The teamwork is absolutely critical.
I don't think we could have picked a better team.
It was actually very pleasant to get to know them better.
Before you even sign up for the actual event, you have to order your machine.
Springtime rolled around, we ordered our sleds and waited for the summer to get by so we could get them and start riding on them.
Finally, we get some snow in December. And we're like, all right, let's go. And to get back, and I'm just chomping at the bit. Let's go again, you know?
The best thing you can do to train is just to ride.
We still put on over 1,000 miles on our sleds before we actually ever even started for Nome. So we did do quite a bit of riding and everything. And
we signed up, I think, the end of September. It was fun to go in there, all the three of us, and sign on the dotted line. We're doing this trail class.
There are all these little things that kind of start playing in.
The interesting element that we were not expecting was we found out that my bride, my wife Jessica, was pregnant in the summer of 2014.
I'm on a ladder installing a window by myself because I'm a complete idiot, and I fall off the ladder. I had my arm stretched straight out and come down on my elbow, and it just crunched.
And man, this is going to be very close to February.
Charlie was supposed to swing by the house that day to pick up my helmet to get it painted, and I just called him. I said, I'm done. I just shattered my elbow.
Jess was cool with it. We had peace about continuing. I mean, a couple times, like, man, you know, should I just throw in the towel and wait another year?
Started feeling better. He took the cast off. You know, this isn't too bad. Crunch, crunch, ouch, ouch.
So obviously, as the event gets closer, my bride gets a little more apprehensive as well.
4 weeks after it broke, let's go for a training ride, and we did. So I said, yeah, I'm good.
We're slated to leave Friday, February 20th.
That was an interesting morning. We had the sleds all loaded up and everything was pretty much ready to go, and I got a text from Charlie that said that
Jess starts having pretty consistent contractions.
It's like, oh no.
She was at Providence and I was on the road to Big Lake.
Right up to the point that we actually got on the sleds to leave Big Lake. I didn't know if Charlie was going to be able to make it or not.
I knew it was going to be close, but I really didn't expect her to go into labor the actual day we were leaving.
We're literally, I mean, it's sitting at the starting line. We're trying to tell Charlie, we don't have to go.
There's just a lot going through your head. You're second guessing yourself.
Just like,
Jess was amazing. We all had peace about it.
I was amazed that he was able to do it.
When they raised the green flag and we hit the throttle going out of there, it was just, wow.
It's just you and these three guys and your machine for the next 1,000 miles. And my bride is sitting in the hospital in labor.
We had one satellite phone with us, and we'd gone past the one spot at Shell Lake and stopped out there about a half mile beyond Shell, and Charlie was able to get on the satellite phone and then call into Providence, and that's where he learned that
Merritt Mercy Preston had been born at that point, and that was a sweet time. It was a relief knowing that Jess was good and baby was good, and then I could focus on the trail ahead, so to speak, because between Shell Lake and Rainy Pass, it's some of the more rougher section of trail. There is a section of the trail known as the Happy River Steps. Now, this section of the trail is somewhat infamous. It's just big moguls and tree riding, so we're not going real fast. On the Squinta River coming up, there's this bank, and it's approximately 10 or 12 feet. It's a pretty steep little jump. The top portion feels like it's gonna kick you back over.
Leaving out of that Rainy Pass, it was flat light, really bad flat light.
And this is the first section of the trail too that we had never been on before.
Hit the South Fork, and that's where it all started.
most of the river was actually open, and so we're kind of
crisscrossing
back and forth and trying to follow our GPS.
A lot of ice ledges, a lot of broken ice, open water.
And I think it's about 8 o'clock now, and it is dark.
There's an area that we couldn't jump across because the left-hand side, there was a big ice shelf there.
And our belts get wet, and we slow down and we stop and sink. I mean, man, we're so close to a road. It's just like, we can taste it.
Luckily, the water was only probably 18 inches or so deep at the deepest.
As soon as we went down, I knew, yeah, this is nothing. We'll get out of this in a heartbeat. These guys know what they're doing.
Spent about 45 minutes or an hour getting the sleds drug up out of the water and dried out, and we were able to finally continue on up to the roadhouse then.
So spent the night at Roan.
Well, we kind of slept in a little bit.
We slept in till 8:30, and 15 minutes after we woke up the next morning, we heard the sound of machines coming from Rainy Pass.
Can't believe we slept in.
Uh-oh, we got to go.
So we press on. We knew that the farewell burn, was going to be rough.
About 70, 75 miles of just dirt and dust.
You go on mile, you shut it down, and you're chewing on dust. Dust and buffalo turds. So if I could have figured out a way to cool an engine with a frozen buffalo turd, I'd have done it in a heartbeat.
It took us 10 hours to cover 90 miles.
Like, oh man, it's just never gonna end.
We pushed on and made it into Nikolai, and once we hit Nikolai, it was just like there was a wall of snow depth that we could just shoot, just fly into McGrath.
Spent the night at McGrath.
Got up early, started all over again.
So we take off with renewed vigor then. This is going to be the third day, McGrath to Galena.
From McGrath to Ophir is actually a really, really good run.
Plenty of snow and fast.
It's like 96 or 98 miles from Ophir to the next checkpoint of Poor Man. That was just a mind-numbing run.
It's the same rough bouncing off the tussocks.
Bouncing and bopping the whole way through it.
I mean, you couldn't go that fast, and it's that for 900 miles.
Tundra abyss. And man, I was happy to see Poor Man.
Get out onto the Southern Mining Road, and from there all the way into Ruby is just...
Put the throttle down, and it's fast. Grabbed some fuel and headed off for Galena. We're like, yeah, we're not stopping.
So it's 50 miles to Galena, but we knew it was river running, and so it should be pretty fast run. You should be able to do that in an hour or so.
So we spent the night in Galena, and then from Galena we took off
to Caltag.
My favorite part of the whole trip was the 70 miles west of Caltag. And that was the only time that I got stuck on the trip because I was feeling cocky and having fun kind of carving around and kind of burying my sled.
We got through that, and then kind of it just opens up into just some gorgeous rolling hills over the top.
Something really cool happened in Unalakleet. A friend of a friend had printed off a photo of Jess and the kids, including Merritt, and he kind of taped it up and gave it to me. That was huge.
You're always concerned about your sleds.
It's you and your machine against the elements. If your machine's making a noise or beeping at you or doing something, it could shake your confidence a little bit. We also knew that we had the Norton Bay crossing up ahead of us, and the Norton Bay crossing is basically 50 miles of going across the ice on the ocean.
That's where we really started skipping water.
Constant patches overflow throughout.
It's getting dark. This storm's coming in, and we've got 50 miles of semi-frozen saltwater ahead of us.
We're following the stakes, and then it starts snowing.
Just nasty conditions.
It's just white out. It's dumping snow and blowing, and
there's just no way you can even see the stakes. And all of a sudden I run into this big pressure ice ridge out there, and it's just this big jagged, like, oh my God, we're gonna die out here.
After a while of just kind of itching along, we start seeing the airport beacon from Koyuk, and we knew we were getting close. Finally, about a mile or less than a mile out, we see town right there, but we just see water in front of us all the way to town.
Oh no.
Going to the left, going to the right, trying to find our way past it.
Oh boy. I don't want to do that one again. That was the scariest time of the entire trip.
So we're sitting there, okay, should we go for it? Should we try to pick our way around?
See snow machines running around out on the beach ahead of us at Koyuk, and we see one of the sleds take off and start going clear out around. He come clear out around behind us and then back up and met us and then guided us back on the inland trail.
You're on land, you kind of breathe a sigh of relief, and we spent the night at the Koyuk school that night. We knew we were only one day away from Nome at that point.
So the next morning we took off early. The Arctic Cat team was just ahead of us, and we're kind of following them and take off, and we're heading out the coast, heading toward Nome. And
the weather just like threw a wall up and said, oh no you don't.
Elam was just white out. I mean, you couldn't barely see your hand in front of your face. I mean, we're just going slow, sticking close together, watching the GPS.
And then I look over and I'm like, hey, there's a guardrail here. Where did we find a road?
It was only like a couple feet away and never even saw it.
Yeah. You can't see anything.
Driving along, and pretty soon it's gone. You're back out in the clear weather again.
Between Golovin and White Mountain, normally the trail goes straight across Golovin Lagoon. The temps and the tide and the storm, they said there was 5 miles of 4-foot deep overflow going across Golovin Lagoon.
Kind of looking at it going, okay, it's staked this way, but they're telling us to hang to the right. And this guy Jack comes out of nowhere and says, follow me.
This guy's riding this old Polaris with a little tiny windshield on it.
No helmet, no nothing. And
he had this parka on and a ball cap.
Jack takes off, and
the guy put the hammer down.
And he's doing 60 miles an hour.
80 mile an hour across Golovin Bay, and just like, holy cow!
This guy invented snow machine racing.
White Mountain is the last major checkpoint before Nome. So we knew we were within 70 miles of Nome at that point.
By now, you're going, I'm done, I'm ready. Let's give me Nome.
We come up, drop down onto the coast there, getting in toward Nome and cruising up there. And
we were within a mile of Nome. We had a little fiasco with the trail.
There's another stake trail going off to the right.
We're like, what the heck?
Evidently, one of the dog teams had taken some of the stakes and staked another trail out. Which trail do we take?
So we start following this trail. Well, Nome is right here, and we're just meandering.
And the further we go, the just more mad we got, because this isn't right.
Well, heck, we just figured we were going to ride all the way up to Barrow.
Like, screw it. Or I'm just heading straight into Nome. So we go through these neighborhoods and finally, are almost to downtown Nome, and Jim Wilkie's waving us down.
You can't do that. Follow me. And he drives us back down, get on the trail, and then we can go up and drive through the finish line and everything. So that was kind of fun.
And all you can think in your head is like, I've done it. I can't believe we finished. You know, we all started this, we all finished it, we had our highs, we had our lows, but we made it.
We've been planning this now for 14 months, and we just did it.
It's been a good ride. Time to take a break.
Obviously, my bride, I think, bared the biggest burden of this event, but I got to rib her at the same time and tell her it was her idea. But thank you, Jess, for pushing me to do this and being brave and strong during the delivery of Merit and allowing me to go, even with all those extenuating circumstances.
My family was just a huge backer. Couldn't have done it without them.
Sponsors are huge. Obviously, this is a very expensive venture.
None of us have that much money laying around that you can just do this. So you have to rely on sponsors.
Yeah, we had sponsors helping us out right from the very beginning. Providing gas on the trail and lodging and food, and it was a really good experience for all of us.
All of our sponsors were incredible.
We really appreciate them and all the help that they gave us.
I mean, this is basically the Iron Dog.